sedition. Sedition, very important topic. Definitely we can expect a mains question on sedition. Sedition. And why I am explaining sedition today? Recently, Chief Justice of India has made a comment on this sedition. Do you know what was that comment? Why you are using this age-old provision, that too having a colonial legacy? And this sedition has become like, it's become like giving a saw to the carpenter to cut a piece of wood, but he uses it to cut the entire forest. So this person has given a saw to cut a tree in the forest, but unfortunately he has cleared the entire forest. That means you are misusing this saw. You are not supposed to. You have to use this saw selectively, but unfortunately you are using indiscriminately. And he said you are not supposed to trial, you are not supposed to trial your own republic people with this particular law. That too it is having its own historical, I can say, we fought for this, we fought against this, because historically we are against this. I'll give that historical legacy and all. But recently has made that comment. And apart from that, there are some committees who are always suggesting to repeal this sedition law, because there are a lot of disadvantages with this sedition. But prior to entering into that all, I'll try to explain the genesis. But the only concern is, nowadays, if you are something against to the government, they are all using the seditious provisions, whether it is union government or state government. Okay. Actually, the concept of sedition, it was enacted in the 17th century in England. In the 17th century in England. At that point of time, it was a king's rule. And kings don't want listen any bad opinion on their government. They always want to listen only good opinion with respect to the government. They don't want to listen bad opinion. Why I am saying this, they don't want to listen and they want to listen, you have to be very careful. That means be careful. Even you are not supposed to express a bad opinion. It's not about bad activity. Forget about bad activity. It's opinion, because this fact you will forget. You always think like sedition is something like it will be on the people who are involving in these terrorist activities, fighting, violence and all. No. It's all about opinion. You are not supposed to express a bad opinion. If it is good opinion, it's fine. That was the mentality of the Britishers. That is how, and it is not against India or somebody. They have prepared on their own people, because the king at that point of time, they don't want to listen a bad opinion. And that is why it was brought in England. Originally, with respect to India, it was drafted in 1837 by Thomas Macaulay. And who is this Macaulay? Is it the same Macaulay of the Lord Macaulay? There was a Macaulay who was the chairman of First Law Commission. He was the same Macaulay? He is a different Macaulay. He is not the same Macaulay. Okay. And there was an education system. That is also Macaulay's education system. And this Macaulay is that Macaulay. That is Lord Macaulay. Okay. But anyhow, this Macaulay is having a different role in India's education system. This Macaulay is having a role in India's education system. Can you say what was the role of this Macaulay in India's education system? Can you give some points? Do you know? What was the so special about 1813 Act as far as education is concerned? You have studied 1833 Act, you studied 1793 Act, but what was the role of 1813 Act? Generally, you don't find it in your Lakshmikant textbook. 1813 is skipped, no? They allotted 1 lakh rupees for education. Did you remember? Do you know that 1 lakh rupees is allotted for the development of education in India? And after that, there was a dispute between both the Britishers and Indians, like which type of education should be promoted in India. Indians argue that education must be an orientalistic education, which must be taught in Vedic language or vernacular language, that to Indian culture. But whereas the other people say like it must be in Indian and it must be in English and it must be according to the Western philosophies. And he is something like an ethnocentric guy. That means he believes that the entire the Indian literature is not even equivalent to one single book of Britain. That's what his that ethnocentric attitude. But anyhow, but there was a conflict between that and we are unable to resolve it. We are unable to resolve that conflict. And ultimately it was went into the hands of this Thomas Macaulay, and Macaulay said, no, I think you people are not come to any conclusion. So now I am deciding, I believe that Indians need an English education with a Western philosophy. That is how our education started in India. And he said that, no, all the Indians cannot be given education because their purpose of education is to serve their own interest, not your country's interest. And one more principle of Thomas Macaulay is the educated Indians must only be Indian in their color and race, but they must be spirit in English. They must be their morals, their spirit, their whatever the thing, inspiration, everything must be drawn from English only. They must be only color and race in Indian. Their taste and their everything must be in English. And ultimately, he said one thing: this tap down this percolation theory, according to him, if you give education to few people, let that education percolates down because of that people. So it's not possible to give education to everyone. We will give to few people, let them teach to the down section and let them teach. These are all ideals of this Macaulay. Please remember, you will get in the mains. That is why I'm giving. But anyhow, this Thomas Macaulay, did you get anywhere this explanation or this type of thing? Have you studied or you studied? Where as a part of history? As a part of it's part of history, no, history in modern India. Have read in Spectrum or someone has taught these points to you as a part of curriculum? It was detailed in Spectrum and you gone through Spectrum. Okay. But anyhow, not mentioned in, it's not mentioned in Lakshmikant. Did anyone taught these points to you? That's what I'm asking as a part of history. But you have studied on your own. Okay, whatever it may be, you know all these points. Okay. Okay. But anyhow, the same Thomas Macaulay has brought with the concept of the sedition law in the 1837. But when we have enacted our Indian Penal Code, IPC, in 1860, Indian Penal Code in 1860, Indian Criminal Code 59. What are the three codes? How many codes are there? Indian Civil Code, Indian Criminal Code, Indian Penal Code. 59, 60, 61. Okay. So now in the 1860 Indian Penal Code was adopted. It was not mentioned as a part of IPC, but later it has added in 1870. Later it has added in 1870. 1870. That is why, what is the section of this IPC? Can someone tell me? This means that it's a later addition. This means that it's a later addition. That is how it has entered into the statute books in the 1870. And it was one of the draconian thing. And I'll give you the definition of this sedition, very important. Any person, just write, any person by words, any person by words, any person by words, either spoken, you have to be right, all these things, either spoken or written, or by sign, or by visible representation, or by visible representation. So because of these things, only by spoken, written, sign and visible representation, to brings or attempt to brings down, to brings down or attempt to brings down, brings or attempt to brings into hatred, contempt, disaffection towards the government established by law, So here the keywords are spoken, written, sign, visible representation, and hatred, contempt, most important, disaffection. Disaffection you are not supposed to forget. Very, very important word, disaffection. And disaffection means disloyalty and feeling of enmity. The definition has given. Disaffection means disloyalty and feeling of enmity. Feeling of enmity. These are the definitions. Now I'll come to this law once these facts are over. But keywords are important while you are writing: spoken, written, sign, or any visible expression to bring or attempt to bring a hatred, contempt, and disaffection. Very important. Okay. Now, if you involve in these activities, then you will be liable. And the punishment is from 3 years of imprisonment to life imprisonment. 3 years of imprisonment to life imprisonment. Now I want to give some facts. The first trial in India, under the Sedition Act was in the year 1891. In the year 1891, you will get prelims question. Jogendra Chandar Bose. I write Jogendra Chandar. Spelling is something like this: Chunder. Chandar Bose. What happened? Jogendra Chandar Bose. Not Chandra Bose. Chandar Bose. Okay? Because you will get in prelims. That's what I'm saying. Huh? What happened? Okay. So Jogendra Chandar Bose. He was the editor of a paper called Bangobasi. It's a Bengali paper. Bangobasi. Now you can understand why the Sedition Act is filed on a newspaper? Because it's a rights, it's writing and speaking. Bengali. First trial. Okay. Next. First trial it is. Prelims important. Next, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He was tried under the sedition law 3 times in 1897, in 1908, and in 1917. 3 times. And Mahatma Gandhi in 1922. Some important news. Now I'll give some explanation to this. After that, I'll enter into Supreme Court judgments and Law Commission things. Okay? No. See, this Sedition Act, it was actually filed against the Indians. At that point of time, the Indians showed disaffection towards the foreign rule, because they don't want that rule here. And Tilak has said, we need Swarajya, we need to rid out of these people, and Gandhi has given statement. Many authors and writers, they have written. Now we got the independence. Now when we got the independence, people are also expressing some sort of opinion on their government. Their government might have do this, their government might have done this, their government is not doing proper in this, their government is not doing in this proper way. Now the government of India is using this particular section against its own people, saying that my government don't want to listen a bad opinion from my citizens. That is how they are declaring. It's all about the words. It's all about the speeches. It's all about the visible representation. It's not about taking a violent activity. It's all about speech. But this government is saying, not this government of India, because they are been continuing this section for last 75 years. But they are saying, no, people should not criticize the government, because they are criticizing the government as a something disloyal or disaffection towards the government. But what exactly the difference between a criticism and a disaffection? What is exactly that? But government says, no, you can do positive criticism or something like a constructive criticism. What is the difference between a constructive criticism and a criticism? What is the difference between a criticism and a disaffection? It's very difficult to distinguish. And that too, your law is not defining what exactly that disaffection is, and your law is not defining what exactly that disaffection and disloyalty and your constructive criticism are criticism. Your law is so vague, your law is so wide. If the government thinks that, and it's not only brings, it also attempt to bring. It's not only bringing hatred, contempt, and disaffection. It also includes the attempt to bring the disloyalty, disaffection, and contempt. So how, if the government thinks that this person is attempting to bring disloyalty? Suppose today I am speaking on this floor and I am saying, see this union government, they have brought GST, and because of the GST, our Kerala government is losing lot of revenue. So perhaps I think we are not supposed to allow this government to run. Then immediately they may think like, I am attempting to bring disloyalty or disaffection towards the existing government, so I will be persecuted or prosecuted under sedition. And I have given a speech, CAA, and on the name of CAA, this government is dividing the minorities in this country. It is something against the federalism of this country, and this government is against the founding principles of the country. So we are not supposed to allow this government to run. We have to bring down this government. Then immediately they will come up with famous legislation called sedition, because you are attempting to bring down. Then can we allow such type of speeches? Is it possible? That means, yeah. I'll come to that UAPA and this. I'll come to that. Because tomorrow I'm going to discuss UAPA with other batch. See, it has become confused for me which topic I have to discuss to you and which topic I have to discuss to others. But anyhow, if possible, if you are interested, I'll deal UAPA also because the question was already asked. We'll see. I'll come to that UAPA, how it is different from sedition. But don't we have that right to criticize our own country, our own government? And if we have, to what extent we have? These are all the questions. See, now if you see, the present government is criticizing the previous government. The previous government has criticized other previous governments. That means criticism is nothing wrong. You can go for criticism. And one more thing, whenever you are criticizing, criticism is part of your freedom of speech and expression. But every freedom of speech and expression has its own limitations. Under Article 19(2). What are the limitations? You know that limitations, like public order, morality, relations with the foreign country, security, integrity of the country. These are all. Now, before you think of whether my seditious activities are really acceptable or not, whether my seditious activities are really able to provoke into an action, that action will in turn brings disorder to the public order, and it really becomes the threat, it really becomes the disturbing the relations with the foreign countries, then I can call it as these are not acceptable. But if my words are mere words, it is not provoking anyone to lead to any action, then you cannot consider it as a seditious things. Britishers have done in a different way. Britishers have used it in a different way, but we are not supposed to use it in the same way. Because our republic has given a freedom of speech and expression to everyone, and you are having an every right to criticize every government, and you can go with that criticism. But the only benchmark is your criticism must not lead to any violent activity that will in turn disturb the public order, and even it creates the law and order situation. You cannot say it's a seditious activity. Law and order is different to that of public order. In aggravated law and order condition, we call it as the public order. Simply I am here and I have provocated some person here, and because of that some communal disturbance happened in Trivandrum. That doesn't mean that it comes under seditious. It's not a wide range of law and order disturbance. It's only a limited area. So you have to be very clear. Sedition is about the words, but while you are applying, you have to be very careful. Once you understand this provision, now he mentioned about UPA. Sir, some people are filed under UPA. These unlawful activities, again it is vague, but to some extent it is so clear compared to sedition. Compared to sedition, it was clear. Why it was clear? Because the UPA is also restricting on many things. Now sedition is only restricting the speech, but UPA is restricting your speech, restricting your assemble, that means whatever the right to assembly. It is restricting right to form an association. It's restricting on three things, but your sedition is only on speech. And UPA is restricting. Why UPA is restricting? Because UPA is restricting if it finds that whether your speech or whether your association or whether your assembly or assemble, if it lead to some activities which are becoming threat to the security and integrity of the country. And while you are discussing the UPA, there must be some activity that must be seen. There are some instances where even if you don't find an activity, they are filing a case. That's a different story. But it is not such a vague as the sedition, but it is not such a crystal clear. UPA is also having a scope to misuse, but UPA is saying if your speeches, if your assembly, if your association, if it is leading to any violent activity, and if they find any prima facie evidence prima facie evidence that these people are going to topple the government or becoming security and threat, then they can file a case under UPA. And if you file a case under sedition, there is no proper impunity, we call it as, in normal term we call it as security. Impunity to the police personnel who filed a case under sedition. You have to prove it. But whereas if you file a case under UPA, the police personnel has a lot of impunity. That means you no need to prove everything. Suppose if I file a case on you under sedition and I file a case on under you UPA, and in UPA, if a prima facie evidence, that means if a minimum primary reason is available, then I can put you behind the bar for many days. But whereas I cannot do under sedition, I must have an exact reason. Because the law was a detailed law was there for UPA, but such a detailed law was not there for sedition. It's a simply IPC provision, Indian Penal Code provision. That is why conveniently some people are arrested under UPA. But when it comes to this sedition, there are series of judgments. I'll give you 1950 first judgment in Brijbhushan versus State of Delhi. Brijbhushan versus State of Delhi. Brijbhushan versus State of Delhi. Again, there was second case, Romesh Thapar versus State of Madras. What they have said in the 1950 Supreme Court, what it was said is, restrict the free speech. And when I say 1950, even first constitution amendment was not brought. First constitution amendment was in 1951 only. They brought many things again. But what they said is, because the 1950 is, at that point of time, the Supreme Court has given a lot of importance to fundamental rights. If you understand the controversy between the fundamental rights and directive principles, there you can understand. The 1950 was a period where they have given a lot of importance to fundamental rights. They said restricted speech on the ground that it would disturb the public order is unconstitutional. That means if you are restricting the free speech, you are restricting the free speech just on the name of public order is unconstitutional. Free speech on the ground that it would disturb the public order is unconstitutional. They have not said something like whether sedition is unconstitutional or not. They said only that. That means to some extent they are not favored this Sedition Act. But there was a famous judgment you always need to quote in the exam is 1962 Kedarnath Singh, and this was a judgment repeatedly quoted and you will find it in the newspaper also. Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar. Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar. And in this case, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of sedition law. But it said you must use it limitedly. They said for limited application, but they said the sedition cannot be removed because you must need this. Otherwise, because the 1960s, lot of some divisive forces are there, and that too, this is a time where the Madrasis are fighting for a separate Dravida Nadu, because they want to secede from the country and lot of things. And by that time, China has already attacked. Lot of many things are there. So that is why at that point of time, they said, no, it's not a better thing if you really remove this sedition. And even today, we are quoting this judgment. But again, in the year 1995, Balwant Singh versus state of Punjab. Balwant Singh versus state of Punjab. Balwant Singh versus state of Punjab. In that they said mere sloganeering which does not attract any public response, did not amount to sedition. Did not amount to any sedition. Because we have seen something happened at JNU, and still today the government call them as Tugde Tugde gang because they want to break this country into pieces and pieces. I am not supporting the slogans given by the student, but when the students, we don't know whether they have given it or not, but just assume they have given the slogan. Just because they have given the slogan of break this country into pieces and pieces, did it attract any public response for that? Did anyone really feel so good about the slogans, and did anyone try to really break this country into slogans? No. When a mere sloganeering or mere writing or mere speech, if it does not attract any public opinion, then any public attention, then certainly you cannot call it as a sedition activity. But even if it attract the public attention, but it does not lead to any action also, you cannot call it as a sedition. If you find any action, then you can call it as a sedition activity. So these are the three judgments. Try to remember. Now I'll give you the Law Commission's opinion. Use these things appropriately. In the 1968, Law Commission rejected the idea of repealing the sedition. In the 1968, the Law Commission recommended for repealing of the sedition in 1968. See, one thing you need to remember while writing the answer, you may not quote whatever I have said. You may not say whatever I have said, but you can write, as far as the sedition law is concerned, the judiciary of India and the Law Commission of India has given a lot of contradictory opinions as far as the sedition is concerned. If you want to write that statement, you must know whether they have given a contradictory opinions or not. The judiciary itself has given a contradictory opinion, and you don't know whether the Law Commission has given a contradictory opinion or not. Otherwise, you cannot go on writing the answer. In the 1995, it was supported. In the 1962, it was opposed. In the 1950, it was supported. You can't write all these things. That is how writing the answer. That is the beauty. You need to convey the lot of factual message in a one line. That can be possible only if you know these facts. If you don't know this fact, you cannot write a statement called Indian judiciary has delivered a contradictory judgments on the sedition. But perhaps now the time has arisen where you need to interpret the sedition according to the present time. That adds a lot of value. Otherwise, some people say like, no, in the 1962, in Kedarnath Singh, Supreme Court supported, now we need to support it. We are saying in the previous statement, like the Indian judiciary has pronounced a contradictory judgments. Contradictory judgments means what? Sometimes supported, sometimes opposed. Now what we are continuing statement? The continuing statement is now we need to interpret the sedition in the present context. That means the contradictory opinions were delivered in that context. Did you understand? That type of statements will add a lot of value. Answer writing is something, an art. No, it's simply you cannot write if you know the information. If I give some 15 minutes time, you will write all these things, but it doesn't make any sense. use the info. See, why always I give a lot of this information is use this information to write the answer. That doesn't mean that you have to use whatever the information I have given to you. No, you have to make an opinion out of these facts and you have to write. Did you get the point? That is why I'm giving this information. Don't say like what sir has given, we will produce only that. No, that's not the smart way of doing the work. But anyhow, in the 1971, the Law Commission has said, that the sedition scope must be expanded. That means I'll tell you. Now, the sedition law says that if your words, speech, signs, or any visible action, if it really brings or attempt to brings the disaffection or contempt towards the government. But this law panel wanted towards the legislature, towards the judiciary. That means even if someone criticizes the legislature, even if someone criticizes the judiciary also, they must be brought under the sedition and they must be prosecuted under sedition. That was in the 1971. And you know what happened in 1971 and all the politics. Next. But in the year 2018, the B.S. Chauhan, the then chairman of Law Commission, but he said, in a democracy, before I conclude, I'll just give some points. In a democracy, singing from the same songbook is not a benchmark of patriotism. Singing from the same songbook is not a benchmark from the patriotism. That means what you are saying is, okay, you complete, after that I'll explain. In a democracy, singing from the same songbook is not a benchmark of patriotism. People should be at liberty. In a democracy, singing from the same songbook is not a benchmark of patriotism. And are you understanding, online people? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Benchmark of patriotism, people should be at liberty. People should be at liberty to show their affection towards their country in their own way. That means every time when you file a case, you are saying like he is showing disaffection towards the country. That means you are expecting an affection from your citizens. That's what the thing, no? You are showing disaffection means the government is expecting an affection from its own citizens. What type of affection that your state is expecting from you? That means they are expecting an affection which they want, not which you likes. But in a democracy, that too in an evolving democracy, you are asking the person to sing the song from the same songbook because you like that book. And if you don't like, if I sing a song from other songbook, even though it is a song, and you will be so interested if I say only Bharat Mata Ki Jai. But if you don't like if I don't say Vande Mataram, but I will say Jai Hind. You don't like that Jai Hind. You will like only Vande Mataram. You wanted me to pronounce the Vande Mataram. Because I don't like Vande Mataram. You cannot insist on me. That I must express an affection in which the way you likes it. That's not possible. I'm not showing disaffection. I'm showing an affection in a different way which you don't like it. That should not be the case. That is what B.S. Chauhan said. And he went to such an extent, he said, criticizing his own country is fundamental right. Expression of frustration over the state of affairs can also be your fundamental right. Now today there was an actor called Kangana Ranaut and she is expressed her disaffection towards the Congress government. She said, no, the true independence we got. And some people are said like, no, it is insult to the freedom fighters. So it's not free. It's not insult to the freedom fighters. It's an insult to the Congress party from Jawaharlal Nehru to Sonia Gandhi. It's not insulting Mahatma Gandhi or insulting Patel. It's insulting the Congress party. You are doing, you might have such right. You might have such right. You can criticize because her opinion is maybe the previous governments, they are worked with colonial mentality. Even we got the independence in 1947. Probably we have run with that mentality. We have not reinvented ourselves like what India's virtues and like what Indian ideals are. She has that right. At the same time, I have the same right to criticize the present government. I have the same right to criticize everyone. That is what needs in the democracy. And the dissent in all walks of life contributes to the evolution of the society. The dissent in all walks of life will contribute to the evolution of the society. If you don't allow to criticize, and if you always say, ho, 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 then it is very difficult for the society to evaluate. You cannot say. And the major thing that I want to tell you here, I don't know, probably I have explained it or not, but the freedom of speech and expression, when you really read the fundamental rights, you always say it's like our constitution has given this freedom of speech and expression, or our constitution has given these fundamental rights. Please remember, constitution has not given this right. Constitution just recognized these rights. Don't say that my constitution is given. Prior to 1950, January 26, don't you have a right to speak? Don't you have a right to assemble? Don't you have a right to pray your own God? You have that right. But constitution has said something. I am going to recognize some of the rights. For that, I can give the guarantee from the state. From the state. That's the only thing. So these rights are not given by anybody. As a human being, you got all these rights. And if tomorrow I will make a law that no one should speak, can it really possible to implement? No one should speak from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Can I implement it? It's not possible. It's no way possible. So the thing is, these are recognized by the constitution. You have only limited power to repeal it, or you have only limited power to curtail it, and you cannot use it like normal. That is what you need to write. So, like how the constitution has a limited power to amend the constitution, like the state in this country is also having a very limited power to curtail our freedoms, because these are not given by the governments. It has given by the nature of a constitution as providing guarantee to us only in a limited instances. Now the concluding part I can say that you must use this freedom of speech and expression. You must use this 124A in only cases where the intention behind any act is to disrupt the public order or to overthrow the government, in a violence and illegal means, through a violence and illegal means. This 124A should be invoked only in cases where the intention behind any act is to disrupt the public order, to overthrow the government through or with violence and illegal means. Through violence and illegal means. You cannot use it anywhere, wherever you want. If you find a substantial amount of act, and that too that is leading to violence or through any illegal means, they wanted to disrupt the public order or they wanted to pull down the government, then you can use it. Now, apart from that, this is only come to the limited application, but whether it should be removed or not, here we are not here to decide. Supreme Court will decide whether to remove it or not. But our point is that the application must be limited. Applications must be limited. Now, why it has to be confined to only limited acts because it is violating your right to free speech. It is violating your right to free speech. It is violating your right to free speech. Second one is it is misusing. It is misusing because it is a colonial legacy. Because it is a colonial legacy. Because of vague expression. Vague expression, that means a wider, vague. It's because of vague expression. Vague expression. And what you need to do is the same Britishers who are introduced the sedition laws, they themselves repealed all these sedition acts. The UK herself removed in the year 2009. The Australia has removed, but they have replaced with something. But my point is that if you think that some of the activities are against the interest of the country, why can't you prosecute under UPA? Why can't you prosecute it under other thing? And why you are using still that colonial legacy of sedition? That is something wrong, because it's prone to lot of misuse. And at the same time, we must sensitize the people. We must sensitize whom you need to sensitize the police personnel. You cannot file an arbitrary case of sedition on any people. Every single activity cannot lead to the pull down of government. That's not possible. A simple man like you and me, just because we are a journalist or just because we are writing something, we don't have a power to pull down the government. And do we really have such a power? Do we really have such a power to really pull down the government? Then you can file the case, but it's not possible. It's against the freedom of speech and expression. And one more thing is, you please narrow down the definition. Narrow down the definition means clearly mention. If you want to continue, clearly mention what exactly this disaffection towards the government. And I remembered when 2014, when election results came, Narendra Modi became the prime minister. Immediately the next day, M.K. Narayanan, he was the former national security advisor and governor of West Bengal. He has written a very serious article criticizing Narendra Modi. That doesn't mean that pulling down. You know that you became the prime minister with an absolute majority. You will be in the power for 5 years. And because he was a reputed personality and he has worked with the government, that is why no one has dared to file a sedition case. If it is like you and me, they would have filed a sedition case. So just writing or criticism cannot pull down the government. That you have to be very clear. And please narrow down the definition or the terms mentioned in the law. Let others laws takes care. Please don't use this law. There are many laws which takes care about security, and NIA is there, and your UPA is there, your CBI is there, many things are there. Don't use this, because you consider it as a saw to cut a tree, but now these police fellows, they are clearing the forest. So it is something very dangerous, because you must have a right to criticism, you must have a right to free speech. Moreover, dissent is always helpful for the evolution of the society, and you cannot insist on somebody to sing the song from the same songbook like what B.S. Chauhan has said. Is it clear? Preliminary point of view, some information. Mains point of view, analysis. And one more thing I want to say, the conviction rate under this sedition is very low. And you are filing a case, you are unable to prove it, ultimately they are coming out. Then what is the purpose of filing a case? Just to harass. This point also if I want to give a figure, in the 2016 the conviction rate was 33%, but whereas in 2019 the conviction rate was 3%. You can understand how many false cases that we are filing just to harass. Okay. So sedition is also completed, but definitely you will get a question on sedition. Use this information to make your own sentence. And see, the point is, you people practicing answer writing. I don't know how you are practicing and with what intention you are practicing, I don't know. But you add one more criteria to your answer writing practices, forming a good sentence. No, with a good language, which holds lot of information in a limited amount of lines. Otherwise, whether I am covering all the points or not, okay, covering points is important. That's one aspect. But consolidating the points and also using some good expressions, both are important, equally important, apart from your whatever the factual things that you are bringing. Otherwise, simply if you go on writing the history of sedition, it was started in 17th century, 18th. Some people like go with flowcharts and all. Always flowcharts cannot help. For some items, you need flowcharts. Sometimes you need to express. You need to write in a good language. You need to consolidate information. Sometimes you find more information, but you may not place it. You have to consolidate and you have to place it in a limited lines. These are all you have to include while you are writing the answer. It's not simply like whether I've written or not. Okay. And once you write the answers in that manner, no, you will feel so happy that I have used lot of information to write my answer. And sometimes I know, because I am also from the same field, no, sometimes what you will do is you will write an answer without recollecting, without knowing, without taking into consideration of existing your available knowledge. You know many things about that, but you forget everything and you write whatever the thing you know and simply will complete the 10 to 15 lines. My point is, use all that information, but how you have to use? You have to use it in a consolidated manner. That is how you need to use. Okay. Because now the learning stage, now you have completed the learning stage. You know many things. Anyway, you are learning many things, but now you have to place it on paper. That's where you need to focus more.
Amrita IAS Academy.